Yo, 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 what is going on, my lovely, lovely human beings and IK familia out there? I wanted to switch things up a little bit today, and I wanted to show what I feel is extremely. I cannot tell you how important this is. If you are in a server and you are looking to your top players for some level of reassurance, whether it's your number one player, your number two, your number three, based on troop power, and you're looking for some sense of security and comfortability and just a good feeling about the direction your server is going, right? I want to really talk about a few big things on why it is so important to have at least the respect and hopefully the trust and, more importantly, the belief of your big top players in the direction that your server is going, and how that can have so many implications on the direction that your server goes, the health, the sustainability, the longevity, how other people perceive that when they look at these situations, and they even look at things that these players talk about. And they pay attention to what they do, because you always do in every server, every kingdom. You're always going to have a group, a portion of people, even maybe a majority to an extent, that will look at and recognize what are the top players doing. I mean, I've even just had a couple conversations these past week or two with players that are a part of groups or even individuals that, again, just kind of through migration meetings and conversations I've had with people that are looking to migrate out of their current server. About half of them have cited these issues and these challenges of players, of their top players or the whales there that are just, they either just can't get a read on them, they're wrecking havoc, they're doing this, they're doing that, and it just doesn't really leave a good taste in their mouth. And maybe they're attacking, they're doing, and they're just running rampant. These are just additional reasons on why other players may consider leaving. And anyways, with my kind of preface intro extending here to about the 2.5 minute mark, as always, make sure you guys sub, like, and of course ring the notification bell. So what I want to talk about today is something that I think is really important, as I mentioned already. And the example I'm going to give you here is Exhibit A. There's a conversation that's happening now in real time. And shout out to Fubar and a few others, because obviously they don't know I'm recording this. But I wanted just to give an example, right? Because there was a conversation that was happening here from some players that are in our Discord on our general chat, which is our kind of community channel that we have for anyone that joins in. And essentially the conversation just kind of started off talking about troop power, how can you address big players with weaker and lower troop power? And then, eventually you ended up having some conversations here, where Nike kind of responds to something I posted where he said, this is where a well-organized server is important. And a few others, saying true in theory, and so, you have... gosh, hang on. Where is that? Where do I have to scroll down to now? Here. Okay. So now you have this, right? Where, let me see. He says, I think this is. Oh God, who is this? Boogie. Yeah. So Boogie says all of this is to say that one whale with a big enough power gap compared to other strong people in the server can completely obliterate balance if he or she chooses to. Many servers have died because of it. I absolutely, completely agree with this. Right? If you have a player that is just so much stronger in troop power than the number two, which only further is exacerbated when you go down to 3 and 4, right, on the top troop power rankings, these are things that you're going to run into more often than not. And because of this, it can lead, even though it does mainly factor into, or I should say come into play, if your whale or your top player / players are doing this, right, where they're just kind of doing their own thing and, letting things run rampant. And so, what I wanted to give a shout out to, and this has come, this is not something that, really has been an easy road, even though it has been a little more moderately mild of a road to get to. It is something I wanted to share, because at the moment, right, if you look at our rankings, you will see that, and let me switch here so I can just show this off real quick in a short capacity. Is if you look at our rankings here for 79, right? Let me just go to troop power, right? So Fubar is our number one at 194. And apologize for the poor quality. I didn't have this at max yet, but he's at 194,882, right? With Deuterino, again, not really close as far as troop power wise goes, right? This is an example of if you had someone like this, right? They could just completely run rampant. On the server, right? If they really so choose to do, just because it would be a while before someone could catch up, if they even do, and then in addition, if they haven't kind of lost motivation and any sense of enjoyment at that point. And so then you end up seeing Fubar had replied to that saying, absolutely true, but BN has created a server that fortunately our whale has the first and third strongest troop power right now. And stand behind being 100%. Luckily, he is a good whale and not a freaking butthole that looks to destroy. Obviously, he's talking about himself in the third person here, so shout out to Fubar, real MVP. But I wanna talk about this because this is one of the things I always love sharing is kind of the objective side on how it looks, right, when you're actually inside the house, not looking in but looking around. And I think it's important because even though I may enjoy and love preaching about S79 and the potential there, it does not come without its own challenges that can happen. Just like any server can have its challenges, no matter how good someone makes it seem. If they do not admit wholeheartedly that they do not face challenges, whether it's on a daily basis or if it's a couple times here and there. Thankfully for us, it's really more of the couple times here or there. But it doesn't mean we are devoid of not having these hurdles, right? Like we're just perfection. Like it's not at all. I will say, in that same breath, that there is a lot of potential that S79 has because of what my idea was coming in. And it really started back in S8 and led to S36. But, I could have a great idea and I could have a great vision, right? But you need a team if you want to be able to do anything. And that's where, the leads that we have, the officers, the contributing players, right? You need that. Just like, if I make a rock example, right? Just like a T5 whale needs T4 players to fill their marches, right? You are not going to win eventually what will be server versus server with just whale players. You need a middle core to fill that out. And that's something I think that players who just haven't played a lot of these types of KVKs and SVSs, right? That is an opinion that some people share, albeit how I feel is just a misguided one, just like a lack of information, an uninformed opinion, right? If you want to say, and kind of coming back now, right? In Fubar's case, right? We've had hurdles and some challenges. Right, and there were times where things were done, actions were taken, and we just would have liked for there to be a conversation first. And thankfully, over time, right, with players like Fubar and some of the other top players, have come right to the table to where we can both meet each other halfway, and we can have these types of conversations about, what do they want to address? What are some concerns? What are pieces of feedback? It is good to communicate and to have open communication, right? I can tell you that I now feel that we are in such a better place than we have ever been when it comes to not only myself and Fubar, but I think Fubar and the rest of the group as well, because we took time out of our days to sit down and talk about things that are really important. And thankfully, a lot of the things that we do in 79 have already been talked about months prior. So that way we don't necessarily run to as many of these kind of big conversation back and forth on purpose. And that has helped a lot. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be willing to sit down and talk with individual players, right, as though their feedback or their opinions are meaningless. But it also doesn't mean that servers or alliances, right, should just be yes men. Right, you need to have a conversation and kind of weigh out pros and cons. Right, have the nice back and forth so that way you can progress and hopefully eventually get to a better place. And so I think when you look at someone like Fubar, right, who kind of embodies this image, right, of a of a whale player, and this is something that a lot of other servers, if not maybe the majority of other servers, are going to come across. It's great when you can publicly see that they are truly in belief, right? They truly believe and trust in the system, right? Because they feel confident in it, right? And one of the ways they can feel confident in it, right, is through having that conversation, through communicating. And that's something that I always respect and I appreciate, out of anyone, right? I'm not a big, shoot first, ask questions later. I actually want you to ask first. I want you to bring something up, right? I mean, I think any server, leaders, or if you're someone who manages it, in kind of a capacity like I do, right, you should always have an open door policy. Always be willing to have a conversation with people, right? And if you don't feel like you have enough time, right, appoint someone else who does have time. Or defer people who have questions to that person and just make sure that that person or group of people are informed to be able to provide the type of information that you would. Right, but trust me when I say running and managing a server or kingdom, it's a lot of work. And I'll probably have to do one of my day in the life videos again of just kind of everything that goes down. But I just wanted to point this out because I just thought this was really important, especially when you have people that are advocates for your server and they do it publicly, because that builds morale, that builds motivation when you have other people like other leaders, other officers, other members who view what these big people, especially if you have a big player or a top player who is socially engaged, that is a part of their enjoyment, right? Sometimes I look at it where some of the people who are like the big spenders in your servers, right? They probably have successful businesses, maybe they do really well for themselves, and for some of those players, a reason why they come on these games is not necessarily for an escape, but for that social engagement, right? They like befriending people, being a part of a community, being a part of a family, maybe to an extent, right? That's something that is enjoyable for them. That's something that keeps them going. And I really think Fubar, in this example, right, falls into that category. And it's great. It's fantastic when you have someone who is socially active, right, as a big top player, and they can really be someone who supports a server, is a rallying cry for a server, because more often than not, a lot of people pay attention. As we said in the beginning of the video, a lot of people pay attention to what your top players and servers do. So let me do this now. I want to pose the question to you. If you are in a server right now, and you have a number one player or a group of top players, right? How are they? Are they socially active? Are they not socially active? Have you ever had a chance to talk with them? Have they ever posted something that has made you iffy and worrisome about your future in that server or kingdom? And if so, what did they do or what did they say that made you feel that way? I think it would be really interesting to hear from you, the community, on similar situations you may have encountered. So other people that are watching this video, when they look at the comments, they can see, wow, there are other people that are in similar situations like I am, where a lot of people put a good amount of stock in what their number one player or top players in their server do, and how what their words and their actions can affect what I may decide to do, whether it be staying or leaving. Let me know anything and everything you guys are thinking, and any stories in the comments down below. That is it for me. I'm out. Until next time, we will catch y'all later.